Hi everybody, welcome to another session of yoga focusing on wrists and scapula. This practice will also include some balance poses, and I'm focusing on some poses that build bone density. So we'll be looking at some of those today as well. So the bone density poses, I'll actually have you hold them for about 30 seconds. It seems like a long time. If it's too long for you, go ahead and just back out of it. It's really your practice, your choice as far as what works for your body. And I'll try to remember to call out those poses when we get to them, as far as saying this is a bone density pose, so that you know when we get into it. If you want, you can stay in there for 30 seconds. If not, then you know ahead of time, oh, we're going to be here for 30 seconds. This is really challenging, and I'm just going to back out. Props today: blocks, strap, a blanket or a bolster, and that should be about it. So I'm going to back up, get on my mat, and I'm going to grab a blanket over here. And to start off, we're actually going to lay on our mats. And you do either want a blanket or a bolster. I'll show you both. I'm actually going to use the bolster, but I want to show you the blanket. So you'll start with a blanket about this width and length, and you'll fold it once, long ways, and then one more time, and make sure that you get those wrinkles out. So if you're going to use the blanket, make sure that all of the ends are down on the mat. The top of the blanket, you want that to come right at the bottom of your shoulder blade or scapula. So if you feel back, you can feel that point. That's where you want the top of the blanket to be. And you'll know you're in the right spot because your shoulders can actually come down onto the mat. It may feel a little uncomfortable at first, just because that's part of our thoracic spine, and our thoracic spine tends to bend forward a lot of times over phones, over our laptops, over sinks. We're always bending over in the garden, etc. So this pose is actually meant to help the thoracic move back just a bit, and hopefully give you a little bit of a straighter posture. So that's the blanket across the mat, or you can choose to use the bolster, and that's a little bit of a bigger lift, and I kind of like that. It kind of also feels a little bit more like a back bend. And you'll sit with that bolster or blanket behind you and come and lay on top of it. And like I said, the top of the bolster as well as the top of the blanket comes to the bottom of your shoulder blades, and then your shoulders come down onto the mat. Your arms come out to a cactus shape, so bent at the elbows and resting down onto the floor or mat. And when you arrive, you can separate your legs about mat width distance. It kind of helps so that you're not trying to hold them together right now. And let your feet splay apart. Then take a deep breath in and a full breath out. And a full breath in and a full breath out. And just relax on top of that blanket or bolster, letting your body open up, letting that area of your back open up. Just focusing on your breath. Feeling your lungs fill up with each inhale. And feel the lightness in your lungs with each exhale. And just feel that wave of breath coming in. Your body and then leaving. And begin to trace that air as it's coming into your body. Feeling that air come in through your nostrils. Maybe feeling that air in the back of your throat. Feeling your lungs fill up. Your belly inflate. And continue to just focus on your inhale. And then begin to turn your focus to what your body feels like with each exhale. Starting with your belly. Feel your belly soften, maybe recede back in toward your spine. Notice the lightness in your lungs. Maybe notice your shoulders belt down toward the mat just a little bit. Feel your jaw soften. And then feel that air as it comes back through your nostrils. And just focus on that exhale for a couple more breaths. And then move your legs together. Bend your knees, placing your feet on the mat. Roll over to one side. Press yourself up. And move that bolster off to the side, or blanket, depending on what you used. And then you'll come back onto your mat. Grabbing your strap first. And you don't need a loop today. You can be one big long strap. And come back and lay onto your back. Both knees are bent. Raise your right foot up. Place that strap on the ball of your right foot. Straighten that leg. Bring those right toes in toward you. Drop that leg just a little bit, keeping that leg nice and straight, and then straighten that left leg. I want you to keep your hands toward your feet in this pose, and then relax your shoulders and shoulder blades into the mat, and raise your leg up just a tiny bit more, keeping that leg straight. This is one of those bone density poses, so we're going to stay here for 30 seconds, and just calmly breathe in and breathe out. Make sure that your left toes are pointing in toward you as well, keeping that left leg active. Grab both straps in your right hand. Keep that left leg nice and straight. Left arm comes out to a T. Turn your right toes out to the right and then drop your leg to the right. Keep those hips nice and level. And this particular pose is also a bone density, so we'll be here for 30 seconds. And on your next inhale, raise your leg up to center. Grab both straps in your left hand. Right arm goes out to a T. Guide that leg just towards your midline. We're just looking for a little bit of a pull on the outside of that right leg. We're not really looking to stretch the hip. It's more of all the muscles on the side of your leg. So once you start to feel that, just stay right there. On an inhale, bring that leg back to center. Bend that right knee in towards your chest. Release that strap. Hug that knee in. Nice big hug. Nice big breath in. Straighten that leg out onto the mat. Bend both knees. Place both feet onto the mat. Raise your left foot up. Place the strap on the ball of your left foot. Straighten the left leg. Bring those left toes in towards you. Then drop that left leg just a bit and straighten the right leg out onto the mat. Toes in your right foot are coming in towards you as well, keeping that right leg nice and active. Walk your hands up the strap, relaxing your shoulder blades and shoulders onto the mat, and then raise that leg to whatever point you can, keeping that leg straight. And again, we're going to hold this for 30 seconds on this side as well in those two poses. Nice deep breath in, full breath out. And then grab both straps in your left hand. Point your left toes out to the left. Right arm goes out to a T. Keep your hips nice and level, so anchor that right leg down onto the mat. And then drop your left leg out to the side. Again, we're going to hold this for 30 seconds. Nice deep breath in. Full breath out. Remember to bring those left toes in towards you, right toes in towards you. On your next inhale, raise that left leg up. Grab both straps in your right hand, left arm goes out. Keeping those left toes pointing in towards you, guide that leg just over your midline, again, just so you get that stretch on the outside of that leg. And on an inhale, bring that leg back to center. Bend that knee in towards your chest. Release that strap. Set it over to the side. Hug that knee in. Nice big hug. And then straighten that leg out onto the mat. Bend both knees. Bring your knees in towards your armpits. Legs are separated. Hug those knees in, and then just release that bend just a little bit so that your legs are bent at a 90-degree angle. Grab the outside of your feet if you can. If you can't, then just hold on to the backs of your thighs. If you've got your feet in your hands, then begin to press your feet into your hands and then pull your feet in towards you. So there's this push-pull going on, which helps to keep your tailbone pointing straight and down toward the mat. If you're holding onto your thighs, just think about that tailbone. We don't want it rounding up, so we're not looking for a lower back stretch. We're looking to get a little bit more of a stretch, more like inner thighs, pelvic floor area, that type of thing. Nice deep breath in, full breath out. And then using your hands, press your legs back together. Bring your feet down toward the mat. Arms are down by your sides. Bring your heels in toward your glutes. And on an inhale, you're going to raise your arms up, Press into your feet, raising your hips up all the way off the mat. Squeeze your legs together just a bit. And then exhale, arms start to come down. Begin to lower your back and hips down onto the mat. Inhale, arms up, hips up. Press into those feet, raising those hips all the way up. Arms come back. Exhale, arms down. Begin to roll onto your back, little by little, vertebrae by vertebrae. Inhale, arms up, hips up. Exhale, slowly lower down. Inhale. Pressing those hips up toward the ceiling. Exhale. Inhale one more time. And exhale. Bring your arms out to a T. Scoot your hips over to the left side of the mat. Lift your feet up. Drop your legs over to the right. Gaze can be over your left shoulder or up toward the ceiling. Nice deep breath in. Full breath out. Full breath in. Full breath out. One more deep breath in. And a full breath out. Bring your legs back to center. Press into your feet. Moving your hips over to the right side of your mat. Lift your feet up, and on an exhale, drop your legs over to the left. Gaze is over your right shoulder. Inhale. And exhale. Nice deep breaths here. Inhale. And exhale. Taking an inhale, bring your legs back to center. Press your feet into the mat to straighten out your back. Then roll over to one side and press yourself up, and then we'll come to a seated position. So you can choose to sit on a blanket if you want. You can take that blanket that you had earlier in your practice and then bring that over. You can always sit on the edge of that blanket. That helps to raise your hips up just a bit, which then allow your knees to fall toward the floor just a little bit more. I tend to have pretty tight hips, so it actually feels nice to be able to do that. So we're going to focus on our scapula, just moving those shoulder blades away from each other and together, just so we have that movement and you feel what that feels like. We also are going to work a little bit on bringing them up and down. So let's do that first on an inhale. Bringing your shoulders all the way up to your ears, you're moving your shoulder blades up your back. If you push your shoulders down, your shoulder blades are coming down. Inhale up, and then exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. So then you can get that feel. Inhale up, exhale down. Now we're going to bring our arms out to a cactus shape. And on an exhale, our arms are going to come together. Your shoulder blades are coming apart. To accentuate that just a little bit more, you can bend over just a bit by bringing your chin in toward your chest. Then you can really feel that opening. And then on your inhale, elbows are back. Bring your hands back just a bit. Look up, and you can feel those shoulder blades come together. Exhale, arms together, chin down. Inhale, arms apart, hands come back, chin up, shoulder blades together. Exhale, forward. Inhale, back. Exhale, forward. Inhale, back. And one more time, exhale forward, inhale back. Good, now we'll bring our hands down and then sweep our arms up on an inhale. And on an exhale, twist towards your right knee, place your left hand on your right knee and your right hand comes right behind you. So your hand is right up against your bottom, your arm is straight. So this is another bone density pose. So we're going to be here for 30 seconds. If you want to get a little bit more of a twist in your cervical spine, on your next inhale, straighten up. And on an exhale, turn your right shin over your right shoulder. Inhale. And exhale. Nice deep inhale. And a full exhale. Continue to breathe here. On your next inhale, come all the way back to center. And then inhale, arms up. And exhale, twist toward the left. Right hand comes on the left knee. Left hand right up against your bottom. Left arm is nice and straight. On an inhale, lengthen up toward the ceiling. On an exhale, turn your chin over your left shoulder. Nice deep breath in. Full breath out. Full breath in. Full breath out. Continue to breathe. And on an inhale, come back to center. Go ahead and bring that blanket back off the mat, set it over to the side. And then we're going to move into tabletop. So knees are directly underneath your hips, tops of feet are pressed into the mat, hands are directly underneath your shoulders. Come back towards your heels just a bit to lift your fingers up off the mat, separate them nice and wide, and then set them back down onto the mat. So we're going to get a little bit of movement in those wrists by making some circles over those wrists in one direction. You can feel the distribution of your weight as you move in that circle, and then come to center and then go in the opposite direction. See how far you can go forward, off to the side and back. Just get that nice movement in those wrists. Lots of weight bearing here. It's good to build those muscles in those wrists. Okay, so let's do a few little cat-cows. So on an inhale, we're first going to come to cow. We're going to raise our tailbone, drop our belly, bring our shoulder blades together. So we're going to come back to that squeezing shoulder blade together. Head and neck come up. On an exhale, tailbone goes down. Your back begins to round. You're going to press into your hands so that you separate your shoulder blades. Drop your head and your gaze is back toward your legs. Inhale for cow, tailbone's up. Belly drops, shoulder blades are squeezed together. Exhale for cat, tailbone's down. Back rounds, belly's pressed into your spine. Press into your hands, separating those shoulder blades, head drops. Inhale for cow. Concentrate on those shoulder blades coming together. On an exhale for cat, focus on those shoulder blades separating. Inhale for cow. Exhale for cat. Now we're going to get a little bit of a stretch in our shoulder blade area underneath and our shoulder with thread the needle. So on an inhale, raise your right arm up. On an exhale, bring that right arm behind your left. place your right shoulder onto the mat, your right ear onto the mat, and then take your left hand, you can leave it under your shoulder or wrap it around. This will open up that back of that shoulder blade just a little bit more. Breathe here. Begin to unwrap your left arm. Place your left hand down onto the mat. Take an inhale, sweeping your right arm back up. And then exhale, lower that right hand back down onto the mat. Take an inhale, sweeping your left hand up toward the ceiling. Exhale, left arm's behind the right, left shoulder comes down, left ear comes down onto the mat. And then you can roll onto that shoulder just a little bit by bringing your right arm behind you. This will open up that shoulder blade just a little bit more. Breathe here. And then place your right hand back down onto the mat. Take an inhale, pressing into that hand. Left hand goes up and then back down onto the mat. So we're going to come to strong dog, which is a nice balancing pose. Good to build some muscle and strength in your wrists and arms. So to do that, we're going to straighten our right leg out behind us and our left arm out in front of us. We're going to stretch those limbs as far out away from each other as possible. And then keeping your gaze down on the mat, raise your left arm, raise your right leg, stretching those limbs away from each other. Breathe here. And on an exhale, bring your left hand down and your right knee in. And we'll just switch off to the other side, so extending that left leg out behind us, and then right arm all the way out in front of us, lengthening those limbs away from each other, gazes down toward the mat. On an inhale, raise your arm, raise your leg. Stretch them away from each other. Breathe here. And on an exhale, bring your right hand down and left knee in. Good. All right, I'm going to take my sweatshirt off. And I want everybody to get back into tabletop. And then we're going to walk our hands forward toward the top of our mat. We're going to keep our hips above our knees and just tuck our ears between our arms for puppy dog. So you should feel a little bit of a stretch in your underarms, but what you also feel is your shoulder blades coming together. You can go ahead and tuck your toes, and you're going to begin to move your body forward over your hands and come to plank. And then press back to downward dog. And then we're going to come up to our toes, drop our knees, come back to puppy dog, which is this pose with our hips just above our knees, ears between our arms. And then tuck our toes, come to plank, squeeze those shoulder blades together. And then see if you can press into your hands to separate those shoulder blades just a bit. And then press back to downward dog. And then come to your toes, drop to your knees, come to puppy, shoulder blades are squeezed together. Then tuck your toes, come forward to plank, pressing into those hands, shoulder blades come apart, and then press back into downward dog. We're going to walk our feet forward, take an inhale for a halfway lift, and then an exhale for a forward fold. And then an inhale, sweeping your arms up and overhead. I'm going to move back just a little bit so you can see me just a little bit more. And then arms come back down. Good. Arms up and overhead. Exhale for a forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Bend those knees. Grab opposite elbows with your hands. Let your head just hang. You can separate your feet just a little bit if you need that for balance. And you can swing back and forth. Just let that upper back release just a bit. And then on your next inhale, begin to slowly roll back up. And take an inhale. Arms up and overhead. So I know you can't see my face very well, but I'm more concerned about you being able to see my body. So we're going to come to tree. And if you want, you can move to a surface that's nice and firm. I'm on carpet, tends to have a little bit of give, makes balancing a little bit more of a challenge. So it's really up to you. So let's first bring our hands together, bring those wrists down. We're going to get a little bit of a stretch in our wrists when we do that. And then shift all your weight over to your right leg. Hug in that right glute so that you've got a nice sturdy trunk for your tree. And then turn your left toes out at an angle. Stare at a focal point, something straight ahead in front of you that's unmoving. And then begin to take your left foot and place your left heel up against your right ankle. Now that can be your tree. I want your left knee out to the side, so as far out to the side as you can make it. And then if you're feeling stable here, we're only going to go up to our calf for this tree. So you can place the bottom of your left foot and place it in and press it into your right calf. So this is a bone density pose. We will be here for 30 seconds. And then you can bring your left knee forward and step that left foot down and shake those legs out just a little bit. Keep your hands where they are. If you find that you need to bring your arms out to create more balance for yourself, go ahead and do that. It's entirely up to you. But to start, let's bring our hands down. And then we're going to shift our weight over into our left leg. Hug in that left glute. Point those right toes out to the right. And then to begin our tree, we're going to bring our right heel up to our left ankle. Now, if that's your balance, that's great. And you can stay right there. If you want a little bit more, you can lift that foot up, press it into your left calf, knee is out to the right. And then go ahead and bring that right knee forward and step that right foot down. Take an inhale, raising your arms up and overhead. And then an exhale, bringing your hands down to your heart center. And then inhale, arms are separated out by your sides, palms facing forward. Make a nice wide stance onto your mat. Hands are on your hips right now. And then you're going to point your left toes out to the front of your mat. Oh, before we do that, go ahead and grab your blocks. We're going to set those right on the mat, one on each side. Okay? So left toes are pointing toward the front of the mat. Right toes are coming in at an angle just a little bit. Okay? And still have that white, nice stance. And then we're going to keep our body so we're facing the camera. Okay, so we're going to come to warrior two. You're going to bend your left knee and just make sure that your left knee is directly over your ankle. And then look down and make sure that your kneecap is pointing toward your middle toes. Okay, you don't want your knees caving in and coming away from even your big toe. We want it to try to open up that inner thigh as much as you can and have that kneecap toward your middle toes. If you're finding that to be a little difficult, you can practice that a bit by coming up against the wall and having a block here, and then you can kind of build that muscle by pressing that block against the wall with your knee. It's a nice little exercise to do. You can do that outside of this practice. So we'll come back to Warrior Two. This is a bone density pose, so arms are up, parallel to the floor, palms facing down, gaze is over that left hand. So we're going to go 30 seconds here, and remember, if it becomes too difficult, then just back out of it a little bit. Okay, so now we're going to come to a triangle pose. So you're going to straighten that left knee. You're going to bring your right hips back. Slide your fingertips forward toward the front of your mat. And then let's make sure we get a block that's on the inside of our right foot. We're going to tip our left hand down, let it come toward that block. Right fingertips are up toward the ceiling. Then we're going to bring our right shoulder back just a bit. Gaze can come straight ahead, or you can look up toward the ceiling. This is another bone density pose. Sometimes, for me anyway, I begin to feel a little strain in my neck if I'm looking up toward the ceiling that whole entire time. So I look straight ahead. So you can decide what you want to do. I'm going to look straight ahead so that I don't have a lot of muscle strain in my neck. You'll notice that your shoulder blades are squeezing together for this pose. So we're working on those shoulder blades and those muscles right there. So that's nice. So just take a nice breath in, full breath out. And on an inhale, we're going to come straight up. Arms come down. And then we're going to turn our body so we're facing the front. And we're going to step that right foot forward just a little bit. Okay, so we're going to come to what's called pyramid pose. And we're just going to get ourselves set up for another pose that's going to follow this, which is a revolved triangle. So coming to pyramid pose, place your hands on your hips for this one. Bring your right hip forward. You're going to be facing the front of the mat at this point, so your hips are completely turned. So right hip comes forward, left hip comes back. Take an exhale and lower down. And then lengthen your head toward the front, so you have this nice long vertebrae, nice long back. And then you're going to place your right hand down on the block. On your exhale, you're going to twist toward your left. Left hand comes up. And again, if it's too much, just back out of it. And on an exhale, lower that left hand down toward the block, just for another little stretch in that leg. And then an inhale, come up. And then we're going to bring those left toes forward. Right toes are forward. Just double check the outside of your feet right now. Hands are on your hips. Nice big inhale, lengthening up. And then an exhale for a forward fold. If you want, you can place your hands on the mat. You can place your hands on your ankles. You can walk your hands toward the back of the mat. And then an inhale, walk your hands forward and come all the way up. So now we're going to point our right toes toward the back of the mat and left toes come in, grab those blocks, bring them toward the back of the mat. You can frame that left foot with those blocks. So our legs are nice and straight right now. Bend that right knee, arms come up. Again, this is warrior two. Your body's facing toward your camera, toward your phone, your laptop, whatever you're gazing at right now. And then your gaze is over your right hand. So warrior two, just double check, make sure that that kneecap's pointing toward your middle toes. Again, bone density, so we're here for 30 seconds. And then we're going to straighten that right leg. We're going to come to triangle pose. So you're going to bring those left hips back, bring those right fingertips forward, and then tip your body over, resting your right hand on top of that block. Left fingers come all the way up toward the ceiling. Bring that left shoulder back just a little bit. Shoulder blades are coming together. Again, you can look up or look straight ahead. Entirely up to you as far as what you want for your neck. Nice deep breath in. Full breath out. And on your next inhale, come all the way up. And then you can bring your arms down. Turn your body toward your right foot. You can step that left foot in just a little bit. And then bring that left hip forward, right hip back so that your hips are square to the back of your mat. Place your hands on your hips. And then lower down. You can place your hands on those blocks. And just get a little bit of stretch in that leg. And then we're going to come to revolve triangle. So keeping your left hand on the block. On an inhale, you're going to raise your right arm up. Breathe here. And on an exhale, bring that right hand down. Get a nice little stretch in that right leg, bending over that right leg. And then take an inhale and come up. And then bring your right toes forward. Left toes are forward. Sides of your feet run parallel to the mat. Take an inhale. Place your hands on your hips and then an exhale, forward fold. Place your hands on the mat, or you can put your hands on the blocks, whatever works for you. And then walk your hands over to your right ankle. Take an inhale, come back to center. And then an exhale, walk your hands over to your left ankle. And then an inhale back to center. Take an exhale. And then an inhale, come all the way up. Good. All right, feet come back together. We'll place our blocks toward the front of our mat again. Take an inhale, sweep your arms up and overhead. Exhale for a forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift. Back is parallel to the mat. Shoulder blades are squeezing together. And then an exhale, planting your hands down onto the mat, stepping your feet back, coming to plank. On an inhale, shift forward, and then exhale, very slowly lower down until all your body comes down toward the mat at the same time. Hands are underneath your shoulders. Elbows are tucked in. On an inhale, press up to cobra. Squeeze those shoulder blades together. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, come up to tabletop. Tuck your toes. Come to downward dog. If you want, you can place your hands on top of those blocks. On an inhale, raise that right leg up. Exhale, bend that right knee. Come up on those left toes and step that right foot forward. Drop the left knee. Untuck those toes. Come up to a low lunge. Get a little bit of a stretch in the front of that quad. Just for a couple breaths. And then we're going to place our hands back down onto the blocks. Walk our right foot all the way out to the edge of the right mat. Point our right toes out to the right just a little bit until we come to lizard. We can come all the way up for lizard, coming to an upright position, and you'll get a little bit more of a stretch in that hip flexor quad area. And then we'll walk those blocks forward just a bit and step that right foot back. I'm going to place those blocks down just for a moment. You can place your hands on the blocks if you want, if you need that lift for your downward dog. And then we're going to tuck our toes, press up to downward dog, bring your head all the way back so your ears are in line with your arms. If you want, your hands can be on the blocks. And take an inhale, raise that right leg up, come up, the left leg up, come up onto your right toes, bend the left knee, round your back, step that left foot forward. And bring that right knee down, untuck those right toes. We're going to come up to a low lunge, just for a couple of breaths. Start to get that little bit of a stretch in that hip flexor area, maybe the front of your upper quad just a tiny bit. And then come rest your hands on the blocks. Walk that left foot over to the left side of the mat, bringing those left toes out just a little bit. And then come and walk those blocks up so that you're coming to a more upright position. You should get a much bigger stretch in the front of that leg. Begin to walk those blocks forward again. Step that left knee back. And we're going to come back to downward dog. So we're going to place our hands onto the mat. We're going to curl our toes under and press up to downward dog. So come back for your last downward dog for today. And then on an exhale, we're going to go all the way forward into a plank. And then shift forward. Bend at the elbows, lower down. Good. We're going to move these blocks out of the way. Come and press your forehead down onto the mat. Bring your arms to your sides, palms facing towards you. Press the tops of your feet into the mat. Press your pelvis into the mat. We're going to come to locust. And we're going to do this in 3 parts. And we're going to count 10 seconds for each part. This is a bone density pose, but we're just going to work on the 10-second holds for each stage. So the first stage, you're going to take an inhale, and you're going to squeeze your shoulder blades together. That helps to bring your head and neck up. Keep your gaze down toward the mat. Breathe here. And then slowly lower down. Press your forehead into the mat. Take a couple breaths here. On your next inhale, squeeze your shoulder blades together, head and neck comes up, and then bring your arms all the way up behind you. exhale, lower down. Can rest one cheek to the mat. Take a nice deep breath in. Full breath out. Press your forehead back into the mat. On your next inhale, squeeze your shoulder blades together. Head and neck comes up, arms come up, and then lift those feet up. Squeeze your legs together. Breathe. And exhale, lower down. Place your hands underneath your shoulders. Tuck your toes. Press up to tabletop. Big toes come together, knees separated. Sit back towards your heels. Rest your forehead down onto the mat. Arms can be out in front of you, or you can bend your arms at the elbows. Bring your hands up, giving your wrists a little bit of a break from all the work that they did. Holding your body in various poses. If your forehead does not reach the mat, in child's pose, grab a block, rest your forehead onto that block. On your next inhale, press into your hands, come back to tabletop, and then cross your ankles. We're going to come back to a seated position. And then we're going to lower all the way down. Knees are going to be bent. We're going to come back to bridge, and then keep a block handy. We're going to come to supported bridge right after that. So, heels are up toward your bottom. If you bring your arms down to the mat, you might be able to graze your heels with your middle fingers. Arms are down by your sides. On an inhale, you're going to press into your feet, raise your hips up off the mat. Roll onto your shoulder blades, bringing your shoulder blades together, and then arms are right underneath you. You can interlace your fingers. Take an inhale. This is a bone density pose. If you want to stay here for 30 seconds, great. If it's too much for you, go ahead and lower down at any point where it feels right for your body. Inhale up and exhale. Inhale, exhale. Keep breathing. On your next exhale, you're going to start to walk your arms out from under your body, separating those shoulder blades. You're up on the top of your back, then very slowly begin to come down onto your thoracic, vertebrae by vertebrae. And then lumbar and tailbone. And then grab that block, press into your feet, raise your hips up off the mat. And set that block right underneath your sacrum. Arms are down by your sides. Just let your lower back release just a little bit. If you want more of a back bend and maybe a little bit of a stretch in the front, you can straighten out your legs. If you want more of an opener, arms can go all the way up and back behind you. So you've got three possibilities. You've got bridge, a back bend, or an extended back bend. Take a nice deep breath in, full breath out, full breath in, full breath out. One more deep breath in, and a nice releasing breath out. And then bend your knees if they're not already bent. Raise your knees up and then straighten your legs so that your bottoms of your feet run parallel to the ceiling. Nice deep breath in over here. And a full breath out. Full breath in. Full breath out. And one more time, nice full deep inhale. And a full exhale. Bending your knees. Placing your feet on the mat. Press into your feet. Raise your hips up off that block. Grab that block. Set it over to the side. Slowly lower your back down onto the mat. We're going to come back to happy baby, so knees are back in toward our armpits. Legs are bent at a 90 degree. Again, if you want to just hold on to the bottom of your thigh, you can do that. And hold on to the outside of your feet or your big toes. Bring your knees in toward your armpits. Press your feet into your hands. Hands into your feet. Keeping that tailbone down toward the mat. If you want for this one, you can rock back and forth if that feels good. Get a little bit of movement. And then bring your legs back together. Bring your feet down toward the mat. Cross your right ankle on top of your left knee and hug your legs in. Get a nice big stretch in that hip. Step that left foot down onto the mat. Bring your arms out to a T. Drop your legs over to the left, keeping your right ankle crossed on top of that left knee. On an inhale, bring your legs up to center. Walk your left foot over to the left side of your mat and then drop your legs over to the right. Should get a nice big stretch on the front of that left hip just a bit. On an inhale, bring both legs back up to center. Bring that left foot back to the center of your mat. Uncross your ankle, bringing your right foot down to the mat. Cross your left ankle on top of your right knee. Hug your legs in. Nice deep breath in. Full breath out. Step that right foot back down onto the mat. Arms are out to a T. Drop your legs over to the right. On an inhale, bring both legs back up. Bring that right foot to the outside of the mat on the right side, and then drop your legs to the left. On an inhale, bring both legs back up to center. Bring that right foot toward the center of your mat. Uncross your ankle. Straighten out your legs. Bring your feet to the outsides of your mat. Arms can remain out to a T, or can bring them closer to your sides, palms facing up. Let your shoulders relax onto the mat. Take a deep breath in and a full breath out. Letting your body just release and relax onto the mat. Begin to awaken your body by wiggling your fingers and toes, licking your lips and swallowing. Taking an inhale, stretching your arms up and overhead, pressing your heels away from you. And then an exhale, bending your knees in towards your chest, giving them a nice big hug. And rolling over to your right side, making a pillow for your head with your right arm. Using your left hand, press yourself up to a comfortable seated position. Crossing your legs, placing your hands on your thighs. Keeping your eyes closed, sweep your arms up and overhead, palms meeting. Exhale, blow all that air out, bringing your thumbs down to your heart center and bowing your head. May you be happy. May you be healthy. May you take care of yourself with joy. May you be safe. I hope you enjoyed this video. I look forward to seeing all of you soon. Take care. Namaste. Thanks everybody. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you someday in the future. Bye.